Good evening, everyone. Hey, welcome for another episode of the Puppet Podcast. I'm so happy to see you again for another week. And tonight, I'm so glad that we connect Canadian all together. I receive Tara Manuel. Yes, so cool. So, yeah, everyone, gather. Come on in. It's like a show, but we are all connected online towards social media, and that's so cool. So yeah, I just want to say something before the interview. I just want to let you know that the purpose of this podcast is to connect puppeteer, put the follow spot on them, and just make this passion towards puppetry shine. And this is such a lovely work, and I practice it myself, so I want to bring attention towards my fellow colleague. So yeah, and if you don't know, we have our Patreon. If you don't know Patreon, I invite you to discover what it is. But it's a platform to build a community and give them some special content, some stuff. So we build that so you can encourage us with this podcast, but also with our tips and tricks towards promotion with social media, but also workshop. We do workshop of building, like building puppet, how to write show for puppetry, how to market your business in puppetry. All of those kind of stuff are right there on the platform. So have a look on that. And yes, you can also look at our website. So this was the little commercial, but now are you ready, people, to go into this wonderful interview? So it's interactive, okay? So you can just write comment, write question, say from where you are watching, because we love to just see if we have people around. So everyone, give a big round of applause for the wonderful Tara.
Hi.
Hello. I make it really loud. Yay.
You're like a circus barker.
Yes. So happy to connect with you, Tara. So yeah, I always say to the puppeteers to introduce themselves to the community who are watching right now.
Okay. Hello. Hi, community. So nice to be here tonight. Thank you so much. And it's lovely to feel connected to that puppetry community. Yeah. From where I am on the west coast of Newfoundland. Right. Yeah.
Yes, so cool. And Tara, I want to know how you fall into puppetry world. Like, what was your path who bring you to this art form?
I may have come to it a little bit later in my life, I think. I mean, I loved the Muppet Show. I was raised on the Muppet Show every Sunday night. That was our television. We had only CBC and it aired on Sunday night. So I absolutely loved it. I loved Miss Piggy. And as far as I was aware, that's what puppetry was. Although Mermaid Theatre traveled to Corner Brook on tours a couple of times when I was young. So I got to see a different kind of puppetry and I was curious about it, but not so much. You know, I never thought of it as something that I would fall into. And when I was a student at National Theatre School, I did a 2 or 3 week class with Jim Morrow, who came when I was in second year, with his own kinds of teaching puppets that he created that I suppose you could call bunraku puppets. And I really, really enjoyed that session. But yet again, I never imagined I had a place in it until much later in my life when I came home to Newfoundland. And I had 2 young boys and I was working in schools, mainly rural schools, teaching creative drama. And I realized that so many children in all these communities never even get to see theater. And I started thinking about a way that I might come back to performing by creating a shadow puppet show that I could take in schools. So that's where it began 12 years ago, my re-entry into theater and my emerging into the puppet world. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. I love that. It's so cool that you were studying like theater, proper theater, and after you add on your career the puppetry side. This is really interesting.
Well, the thing about the puppetry, it involves so many art forms, right? So when you create a puppet show, you're writing, you're performing, you're set designing, you're producing, you're building, and then trying to bring it all together. So it involves a multidisciplinary skills, really, and that seems to fit me very well because I like to have my hand in many aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you ready, Tara, for the big, deep question of the Puppet Podcast?
I don't know. I'm a little nervous, though. What is it?
But thank you just to accept the challenge to answer it, because those questions are really deep, and I know but it's always interesting to hear the passion. So the first is the why, like what makes the art of puppetry an art that you cherish?
It's a difficult question to answer, isn't it?
Yes.
I think one can say things with puppetry and through puppetry and express things that are very difficult to put into words and very difficult to express otherwise. And there's something about the inanimate object that we can project so much into it. Yeah. And that everybody can have a different experience of that from one object.
Yeah.
So that's approaching your answer. I don't know, but I'll probably.
Yeah, but let's put
a little more through our conversation.
Yeah, that's true. And I want also to name that you do like political stuff also. You were saying that you bring a message and everyone have another like could interpret like what's going on from their perspective, but maybe you see that we can express more with puppet if you want to talk about deep subject or like engage art subject also.
Yeah, so I think you're referring to my recent show is a political piece for adults. Actually, I've released a lot of shows this winter. It's been an incredibly productive and busy time. We recently released a young adult show. A young audiences show, Lady of the Falls. But prior to that, this winter I released a political show called Muskrat Dreams, a love story, and that show is about the mega hydro project in Newfoundland and Labrador that's pretty much bankrupting the province and left us in this perilous place. And I use puppetry a lot in that show because I think it's a way of keeping a very dry story interesting. And it also brings another element of humor. And it can express the anger, the sadness of that story quite well.
Yeah, that's so true. I agree so much that this puppetry, this art form could really serve kind of a deep subject like that. Yeah. I want to. Are you ready for the next one? The next one is your crush. I want to know, like, if you have an anecdote, like a moment where you get this crush. You say, "I want to do that for a living."
Oh, I suppose it was in the creation of St. George. So that was our first puppetry show. And I mentioned that I came to puppetry again as a young mother when I was living in a very rural town in Western Newfoundland. And our two little boys got sick one winter. And we were stuck in the house for 2 weeks. And I was looking for ways of keeping them active and creative and not putting them in front of the television. So I started experimenting with shadow puppetry with them. And we had this beautiful English version of St. George and the Dragon. So I would read the story to them a lot at bedtime. And we thought, oh, that might make an interesting shadow play. So we turned our music room into a shadow studio. We put a big vinyl curtain on the door and built some used cardboard cutouts and built some swords and some dragon pieces and had a light. And then we would take turns playing the different parts and reading the story. And I thought, wow, this could really be something I could take into schools to service all those rural communities and children who never get to see this. And my husband really designed a show for me to collapse down, to build in a school, to travel, and I traveled extensively throughout the province, Newfoundland and Labrador, with that show. So I think that was a really special time. Those 2 weeks where everybody was sick, and we ended up inventing something that became a real artistic focus in our
Yeah.
lives.
Wow, this is so interesting, and I love that you named your music room. Like you have like an area in the house dedicated to art, and it's really interesting.
When they were little, we did, yeah. And then they grew, and we moved down to Corner Brook, and our house is a little smaller, so that the whole living room became the studio. It was all mixed up together.
That's so perfect. And I want to ask you, like, because everyone have a different path also, but the training and just before we go into that, I just want to let you know that we have people watching. Viviana, say hi, and Jose, yeah, and we have Juliano, who say this is really interesting. I imagine that the theatrical potential of the puppet is intensified in a powerful manner in the performance given their professional training. Yeah, so interesting. So talking about professional training, I want to hear you about the best way to train. What's the best field of study to become a puppeteer?
I think any theater training is certainly a path forward. Also, dance, physical training is so important, right?
Yeah.
Because you're really focusing energy through your body into an object. In some ways, I feel like I'm at the beginning of my journey in puppetry, and I have had some interesting opportunities over the last handful of years to go abroad. So I worked with Natacha Belova in Brussels on this lady puppet.
Yeah.
And I worked with Dave Lane and Peter Balkwill down in New England at the New England Puppetry Intensive. And that was wonderful to go and to be a student, a theater student, and to train in puppetry. I've spent some time at Mermaid Theatre, Nova Scotia, with Jim Morrow, and Jim came to Corner Brook as well and did some workshops with us. So I feel, well, that's given me a lot. I've taken a lot of knowledge from different people that I've worked with, different artists, and I'm kind of really making it my own and moving forward in my own way. And I still feel like I've got tons to learn, right? There are so many stories I want to tell. There's so many, there's so much space for me to grow as an artist in puppetry.
Yes, and that's true that we learn all the way, like all the time from others, and to have like a master to learn from is really interesting. But let me ask you about that. Like you said, you have a lot you want to share to the world, a lot of story you want to tell. I want to hear you on your goals. What is like the thing you envision for the future as an professional artist in puppetry?
Well, I want to keep doing more of what I've been doing. So this year, I've got my adult political puppetry beginning. I really enjoyed that process, and I would really like to continue speaking about politics, particularly Newfoundland and Labrador politics and political history, to the adult community through puppetry. And I want to continue to develop our young theater for young audiences. I've loved working in the schools, and I've got a long history of doing that in the province and engaging with youth audiences and with children. And it was really heartening to, after our tour being canceled through the pandemic, to be able to bring it online this year and to connect with students in our western region of Newfoundland online in their classrooms from our house. And my husband, Michael Riegler, did a lot of the tech and a lot of the work in those workshops as well. So I see that there's a lot of potential there for us in terms of connecting through online work in the community. So I'd like to grow my performance, my adult performance, and continue. Our youngest son is going away to university in 2 months.
Wow.
Wow. We'll miss him, but it'll be pretty exciting to be in a period of our lives where, we're not focused on the day-to-day raising of children. So I intend to certainly focus more on my work as an artist.
Yeah, that's so lovely to hear. And yeah, congrats on those boys who are like really mature, and I believe like really aware citizen if they have parent artists.
I hope so. We love them. They think they've gone through phases maybe of thinking our parents are a little strange, but
That's perfect.
I think.
I want also to hear you on your own definition, because every puppeteers have a different way to name what they do. So do you have a definition of a puppet in your own words?
Of a puppet?
Yeah.
I think a puppet is any inanimate object that is brought to life.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
That's so true. That's so true. And that's the magic of it. It could be anything. It's such a lot of freedom.
I think so too. I think it's so much more fascinating and interesting than plain old theater with human actors, don't you? I mean, that's so predictable. They can only do so much. You know kind of what you're going to see in the evening. But with puppetry, you never know.
Yeah, you can be
so big, so broad. I feel like there's just so much to learn. Yeah. One thing I'm really hoping to do and looking forward to as we move out of a pandemic world is to travel again, and to leave the island maybe. I mean, I've never taken in the International Puppetry Festival, Charleville-Mézières. I'd love to go to the Saguenay. The Fians is on, right, coming up soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And to really Castellier Festival, I've never been there, so I really want to go and see things and to connect in person more with puppetry. But thank God we've got the internet, because we live on an island in the middle of the Atlantic, and yet we've been able to see so much puppetry because so much is available online, and then now through digital festivals be able to attend things more and connect more. So that's really a hopeful turn of events that feels like the world is opening up in that way.
Yes, totally. Montreal is orange tonight. Like we change zone, and we had the red zone. Now we are in. So it's kind of good. So maybe next year we could like have the Castellier and all of that in person. So let's wish that.
We'll get there. Yeah.
I want to ask you also, in your perspective, do you feel puppetry is in an ascension, is getting more popular?
I do. Yes. Yeah. I think that a lot of artists are really curious about the art form, and directors are as well. So I see it coming up more in sort of straight theater companies and productions. They're trying to integrate puppetry.
Yeah, we see more practitioner also. More.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, the way the feedback we get from schools, the interest in the children and teachers who've written to us the last couple of weeks since we've, finished our tour, and has been really positive. And some of the classes were inspired to make their own puppets, to use the kit that Michael had made to create video scenes and little shadow puppetry shows. And that feels really good to receive that back. And so you feel as an artist, you're casting pebbles out, and they make ripples, and you know where you can't tell how they'll land, right? But they go out into the world, and at least they're aware of it now. Some of them are interested in playing in that world, and they know you can make money at it now because they often ask us at the end of a workshop,
"You live from there, this art?
You did a real job."
Yeah, and I want to ask you, this is out of the script, but to do shadow puppet with like the computer, video stuff and all of that, do you feel it's like it's kind of this art form really like glued to the numerical aspect of online stuff?
It is. I think that, well, my husband Michael's been a bit of a pioneer in that realm, I think. When we started with St. George, he digitized his paintings, created all the hand puppets, shadow puppets that I ended up performing together, but created some animations with them. So I had a digital show. It was essentially a digital puppetry show so that I could tour it solo, right? Using a projector. And that was 12 years ago. And at that time, we didn't know anyone else who was working in that way at all. And now everybody's using digital projectors. The world is just opening up so much more. I'd love to see some of these big shows, the big shadow puppetry companies. I'd love to see those live.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah. My husband, Michael, is really fascinated with shadow puppetry and that whole world. And I love it too. One of my favorite places as a performer is behind the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's naming like to play with light. It's like close-up photography. It's and film, and it's a lot of layer again in this art.
Yeah. There are some amazing companies right now, aren't there? Manuel Cinema. And, yeah.
So cool. Yeah, and I want to also know, where do you see puppetry in 10 years?
Well, I see it continuing and growing. It's
Yeah.
all over the world. And I see the same for myself as a puppet theater artist. Yeah. I think it'll only grow. And we have as long as we have new artists coming to it and innovating and integrating the technology, right? I think that.
Yeah, I love that you use puppet theater artists instead of puppeteers. I saw that in your bio also, and I find it really interesting how you arrived to this like naming, voicing of it.
Because it's multidisciplinary, really, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I live out here on the west coast of Newfoundland, so I'm an 8-hour drive from St. John's, from the theater community, essentially. So
yeah,
Michael and my husband, started creating puppet shows it was just the two of us. There is an arts college, Memorial University in Corner Brook. They have a theater program. So one of the theater directors there, one of the professors, is a director who had worked in Toronto. He's directed a couple of puppetry shows. So we connected. We started working together. I brought in his wife is Louise Gauthier, is a clown. So we started working with puppets with Louise, and she's my right hand of the lady in The Lady of the Falls. And then we brought in a couple of other artists. So I kind of have created my own little puppetry community right here in Corner Brook. And so we've now, we've worked on, Michael Waller and I worked on numerous shows together. He also directed Muskrat Dreams, a love story. So I've got this lovely little community here now, and a place to work in, the Arts and Culture Center in Corner Brook. I've been artist in residence out of that facility over many, many projects over the last decade, So I've done, put together a lot of puppetry projects through that at the Arts and Culture Center through that.
Yeah, that's so cool that you say that you build your network, and that's true. That's really part of the duty of the puppeteers, the artists, to build and connect with the community and build around. This is so powerful.
I didn't answer your question though. I mean, puppet theater artist, because it's multidisciplinary. So yeah. I started saying that, well, I had to create this community. So you live on an island away from the city, and you got to do everything yourself. So, I'm a writer. I'm a producer. I build the sets, even though I'm working constantly in the unknown, out of my realm of expertise. So I'm always feeling like underskilled and like I have to learn. And so, but it's true to the Newfoundland character. We have to be hearty and resilient, and we have to make the best of what we have. So that's why I'm a puppet theater artist, because I have to do all these different jobs in order to create a show, to finally get on there with a puppet, get on stage with a puppet. There's so much other work that has to happen. Just that little bit.
Yeah, and it's so worth it to name it like that, because it's not just manipulating the puppet or building it. It's all
creating
the
whole world. Yeah. And the team, but I've loved it. I've loved that work, I must say. So it's nice to be able to share it online now,
Yeah, to make the world know. And if people who watch, who you have a question for Tara, just feel free to put it just below the interview, because we are almost at the end. Tara, I always ask if you want to bring a puppet to the screen for our audience. And it's funny how it's attracting a lot of attention when a puppet appears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw the view going up, like people stick when the puppet is there. It's so funny. Oh yeah, I can go bigger if you want more room. I love the hair.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rocking his hair. All right.
You made that puppet?
Yeah, I made him for Muskrat Dreams, a love story, and this is young Nalcor. And Nalcor represents that's the Crown agency that the government created to build the hydroelectric project at Muskrat Falls. And Nalcor knowingly withheld information from the government, and hence the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, that caused that project to go ahead way over budget, and virtually caused the bankruptcy of the province, and will also cause our electricity rates to double. So, and Nalcor is still in full operation with everyone working there, although a recent report suggested that the government ought to divest of Nalcor and take control of it. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay.
It's such an investigator. He was looking at us on the computer.
He's got that great Newfoundland receding chin.
I love it. It's so cool. And it's funny. Yeah, you can just talk, and this puppet is alive, and you can like discuss about him, and he just have his own life going on. We're just like we start having image, and this is powerful.
That's good. I love his ostrich feather hair. I mean, Henson did that with feathers, right? They look so great on camera too. So I'm about to start making another puppet.
Oh yeah,
inspired by one of our former premiers of Newfoundland and Labrador, who was well known as a very serious charmer, and he broke the great long reign of Joey Smallwoods. That's Premier Frank Moore's.
That's so
he's going to be so handsome. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's because this is so powerful too, because the politics, it's such it could be really boring and like this subject, but with the puppet you have like a free voice. You can just talk about, and we just like, whoa, okay, yeah, something's happening. I think it's make me realize more thing than just if it will be an actor like with a mask or whatever represent the premiere or something.
I think so. I hope so. I mean, in that piece that I put online, I gave a lot of like lecture of this very complicated history of this project, because I felt enraged by what had happened and very, very concerned that people in my community are not paying attention because they're so busy. It's really hard to know what is actually going on. And if you're not paying attention, all kinds of terrible things can happen in your community. All kinds of bad policies get enacted. So I was concerned, and my director was concerned as well, that this was just too serious, right? So I hope that I integrated puppetry in there. It made it really, really fun at times, and also then allowed me to relate to them as if I was speaking to that historical leader, that person, in a way that was really fun. Going forward, I'm going to be performing that piece next winter at the LSP Hall in St. John's. It'll be presented by RCA Theatre Company. So I'm going to rethink it a little bit and update some of the material, and maybe integrate even a little back and forth, a little bit more puppetry to break up those serious lectures. And going forward, I'm in the early stages of working on another piece, political piece as well, because it's so fun. And I think it's an interesting way to bring people in and also to teach them a little bit about our history.
Yeah.
About the things that have happened, the pathological patterns that we've repeated, the bad projects, the things that have happened that have brought us to where we are. And then how do we recognize that and go forward in a different way? So I think puppetry will be a great way into that. Yeah.
Totally. I'm totally with you on that. I totally agree that we can talk about deep politics, historical stuff with puppet and have fun and just like think over it and yeah, just think the future brightly and more aware, with more awareness.
It can also be cathartic too, because puppetry can express such deep emotions, sadness, for example, like that piece by Philippe Gentil, the marionette piece, that kills me, where the marionette, he brings it to life and then he discovers his freedom. He begins to walk. It's like he believes he's alive. And then he notices the strings, that he's on the strings, and he is so devastated by that. Like, that piece just kills me. And everyone can project whatever pain they want, their personal pain onto that. It tells a beautiful story, and it allows us to experience maybe a traditionally negative emotion, right? But in a beautiful way. Yeah.
So true. And Tara, if people want to see more of you, want to connect with you, want to reach your social media, where they should go?
So I'm Shadowy Souls on Facebook. That's my Facebook page. And I'm also Tara Manuel on YouTube. So I've got a YouTube channel, and 2 of my recent shows are up there. And then there's some other performances. My husband and I have been going through our catalog of work, and it's quite a large body of puppetry work I've managed to amass over the last 12 years. So some of that is on YouTube, especially recent stuff.
Yeah, so cool. So yeah, we will have a look on that for sure. Everyone, just have a look to the wonderful work of Tara. Thank you so much to be part of the show. That was a lovely moment.
Thank you so much, Caroline, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so now it's the time that I push you out of the screen, but you can stay in the virtual studio. We can chat after that. So thank you so much, Tara, for all your word, your good awareness. I think I'm bigger now since we talk. Yay! So I push you by this way, okay? Bye-bye! Woo! Hello, everyone. Again, hello. And yes, feel free to thumbs up, to share this interview, because it was so lovely to think in politics also. I'm so happy about this deep discussion that we get into. So I want to again let you know that we have this Patreon community that we put together. If you want tips, tricks about promotion, about like building puppet, about writing, whatever, just have a look on this. And yes, we offer coaching to help puppeteers towards their challenge, that they want to switch online, they want to maybe have more gigs, like have some advice about promotion, marketing, but also how to sell show, or yeah, whatever. So it's with Eli, my boyfriend, we do that together, and we want to help the community so much. So that's it. And yay, Gabriela, yay, hi. So cool to have everyone joining. So yeah, stay tuned. We have other episode coming next week with the Puppet Podcast. And yeah, we figure to maybe do another big online event. So yeah, stay tuned for all of this story. So have a nice evening. Bye, everyone.